Okay, Bezat Hashem. We're going to discuss, we're still discussing our book, Garden of Peace. Let's just summarize. Again, this is for men only. Women are not allowed to listen to this. If they do, they're going to have major bad shalom bayit. So let's just summarize some of the major points that we said, because I think every day we should just do a quick summary. Yeah. Number one, never comment on a lady and her actions, whether they're going to be good or bad, as far as, you know, giving her advice. Oh, you should do it like this. I think this is better. I think like this. I think like that. Any of these things are taboo. You should not, out of the question. He mentions even if she's talking not nice to the kids. He says, don't say anything. Later come to the kids and explain to the kids, mom is wonderful, she's tired, so on and so forth. Try to convince them that she does not mean what she says to them. But to her, zilcho. Number two, major fact is, make her number one. Whatever it is, make her number one. More important than your parents, more important than the kids. Here, number one. It's a work in progress. You have to really work on it. Yeah. Number two, major fact is we've discussing these past couple of days is that you should not lust after her, which means very often we were asked, what do you mean? I can't have relations with her? No. Having relations with her, you must. Lusting for her, you must not. Which means you want to satisfy yourself, that's no. You have to be able to satisfy her. Firstly, with emotional support, which means speak nicely to her, text her once in a while. They love these kind of things, yeah? And then, speak to her before and after. Very important, she does not feel used. Many times we see people getting divorced after 20, 30 years. Why? Because they were felt used for the past 20, 30 years. They couldn't say anything because they have kids and so on and so forth. And now that the kids are gone, they said what? I want to be free. Don't touch me. I don't want to be with you. I don't want to. Yes, I'm exactly. We were strangers. Yeah. What happened? But we were together the past 20, 30 years. No, I don't want you to touch me. Here. Why? Because of so much damage over the years. Slowly, this damage is reversible. You hear? But you have to get up and be a man and start working on it. All right. So what he was saying yesterday, very major warning, is that all of our problems are because of Shmirat Einayim, our holiness, our spiritual holiness, which means the more we affect our minds with all kinds of dirtiness, which sometimes we do purposely. We visit various sites that we're not supposed to. And sometimes it's not purposely. It's because you work in an area that it's conducive to this kind of thing. Like yesterday was a hot day, and it was tremendous. With the eyes, it was difficult. Why? Because everybody outside was not properly dressed at all. I thought it was Nachnushka day. How do you say that? What do you call that?
Nightgown day.
Yeah, nightgown day. Nightgown day. It looks like everybody was wearing less than they're wearing in the bedroom when they go to sleep. You hear? But, which means we have to try to, limit our access to the outside. Yeah, if you're working, don't look outside. Yeah, if somebody comes in, okay, it's a customer. You have to, deal with the customer. But try not to look and gaze outside, which we often do. We have time. Yeah, we come to the window and we start fanning our necks. And this is what's gonna create this unholiness. Yeah, pagam of the brit, and therefore you're gonna get this reaction from the wife. Good. So he says, a misguided husband who strives for holiness is liable to destroy his own marital peace. Remember what we said? He wants to be a holy person. So since he wants to be a holy person, he wants to abstain from his wife. He wants to do certain things that are, that are normally supposed to be done, but I want to be holy. Yeah, he says that's misguidedness. When he does, it shows that his efforts are not for the sake of holiness. For if he really was holy, he'd be sensitive to the needs of his wife and eager to perform all the mitzvot of the Torah. In his arrogance, the misguided holy celibate, remember we mentioned the whole story in the beginning, right? The holy celibate was the one who said, okay, I'm going to remove myself from everything. I'm going to go into a shul. I'm going to eat water and bread. I'm going to abstain from getting married. And when he went upstairs to heaven, what did Hashem say to him? My friend, what'd you do? Anybody could be locked in a box and not be challenged and pass all the tests. This is not what life is for. Life, no test. Exactly. No, that's exactly good. No test. So he says, no. He doesn't want you to be celibate. Celibate means a person who's there's no relations, no nothing, like the Goyim priests. Yeah. He says, holy celibate is none other than a cruel and inconsiderate person with wrapped fantasies around what the Torah really wants from a person. Warped fantasies. He says that's not what the Torah wants. A Torah does not want a celibate person. Absolutely not. He wants you to get married. He wants you to have kids. He wants you to conduct relations. Absolutely. He says the zealously misguided holy celibate tells his wife that he doesn't need the sexual act and that she brings him down because of her lusts. Yeah, because of her lusts. Yeah, he says, listen, we cannot have relations too much, or at all. Why? Because then you bring me down. He says, chas v'sholom. He causes her of being an obstacle in his path to holiness. He injects her with the venom of guilt until she becomes totally frustrated and starts persecuting herself for the very desires that Hashem instilled in her. Meaning, he could actually talk her into this stupidity, and she could actually be like, oh my God, it's not a good thing to do, which is a wrong thing, he says. She's bewildered. For on the one hand, she longs for a husband. Not only that, the code of Jewish law requires her to dress up and look enticing to her husband. Yeah? It says, go look at Evan and Ezra chapter 70. She's supposed to look nice to her husband. On the other hand, she now has feelings of guilt that she's in the wrong, for she's thinking that she's obstructing my husband's holiness, and working with Hashem. Such an unfortunate wife finds herself in a dangerous whirlpool of frustration and confusion. The result, the holy celibate, quote unquote, ends up destroying his home with marriage and his wife's sanity with his own two hands. He said, that's absolutely not right. She should dress up for you. She should look nice. You should be together, as much as she needs. He's talking about that a person, right? We, as men, are not supposed to go ruin our eyes and get excited and then look for an outlet at home. You hear? That's what he's talking about when he's talking that for you to be not holy. Not to abstain completely from this, permitted relations with the wife. The Yetzirah has yet another ploy to wrap the gullible, misguided husband that wants to be holy, celibate. He says, ask your wife politely to share in your aspirations of being a tzaddik. Surely she'd love to be the wife of a tzaddiket. Ask her politely, for the sake of holiness, of course, to forego conjugal relations. Meaning he's going to say, oh, you know what, let me talk her into not having relations. He says, God forbid, such a request is a dire insult to her wife, a mere declaration in her eyes that her husband no longer loves her and no longer desires her. He is robbing her of what she longs for, a perfect union with her husband. I'll be honest, you shouldn't be honest on video, but I'll be honest that at one point, I was getting a little bit more holier and holier, as he's saying, and I told my wife, listen, it says that we're only supposed to do it on Friday night. You hear? No, admit. Rabbi, you laughing, but I'm admitting. I'm admitting to being an idiot. No, you read the books, and it says a person who is servant of Hashem, meaning he's talking about not us. He's talking about Basali. He's talking about maybe Rav Ovadia. Where he's so busy with Torah and shit. Friday night it's a must. It's a mitzvah. You hear? So I didn't understand that, and I thought, no, standard operating procedure, Friday night only. You hear? So imagine a woman's longing her husband on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. How bad does she feel? Meaning, how terrible does she feel inside? So he's saying the same thing. How can you make a woman feel like that? And therefore, you're not going to have normal shalom bayit at home, because this is completely against what she's feeling. You hear? See, well, when we were talking yesterday that desiring your wife, what do you mean? We can't desire a wife? No, we could desire a wife, and we should make her, feel good. And she really wants it, because standard operating procedure is that she wants her husband. In fact, that's what the Torah says that she got cursed with, wanting her husband. When we're talking about lust, is that we're gonna make our minds all crazy with everything that we see outside, and then we come target. You understand? That's what the lust thing he's talking about. Rev Nachman of Breslev teaches in Likutei Moharam 1132 that the flawless union between an upright husband and an upright wife in this lowly material world is so lofty that it influences the union of Hashem's holy name in the upper worlds. The divine presence hovers between a worthy husband and a wife. The Gemara in Tractate Sotah 17, as such, the lower union corresponds to the upper union. Yeah, basically he says that this union of a man and a woman in holiness is a big effect upstairs. A husband should therefore know that the Torah doesn't require celibacy. Celibacy means no relations, yeah? It requires holiness. Not that celibacy, holiness. One must be careful to fulfill one's conjugal responsibilities. What the Torah refers to as onah, yeah? A wife should feel her husband's love for her and not his efforts at striving to be holy. Once again, a husband that desires to be truly holy in thought, speech, and deed should do so by way of extensive personal prayer. One should never demonstrate about striving for holiness to his wife. One should never be demonstrative about striving for holiness. Meaning, he shouldn't be talking to her and telling her, I want to be a little bit more holy, I want to have less relations. No. That's not the holiness he's talking about. He's talking about watching your eyes, not visiting different types of, websites, not being in areas where you're not supposed to. You hear?
Beach.
Huh? Yeah, no beaches. Yeah, a lot of women are at fault of that. But why are they at fault of that? Because we're lacking something there, and therefore she wants to go to Aruba and Shmaruba and Mexico and so on and so forth. Yeah, she should be the one who never should take us there. Why? She's the one who's jealous of us looking at other women. And yet, what's the understanding that she wants? Exactly. It's unbelievable to understand. She would never want us to look at another woman, yet she wants us to go to Aruba. I don't understand. Maybe one day the Rav explain to us. No. Yeah, exactly. You hear? So it's his desire. So he really wants to go but doesn't. Hashem knows the inner workings of a man. He says, why are you looking like this in the window? I'm going to take you to a place where you're good. Anywhere you look is going to be like that. And therefore she does that. And you're like, why is she doing that? He says, what, but don't you want it? So don't you want it? Why are you looking like that? I'm going to bring you to a place where you don't have to look like this. It's all over the place. Wow, that was a good one. Whoever said that was a good one.
And it says, Hashem will take you wherever you want.
Very good. So he says, the mitzvah of onah or periodic conjugal relations should be done with extreme joy. A husband should never be sad or depressed. On the contrary, he should be gentle, loving, considerate, and happy with her. His thoughts should be uplifted and he should desire to gratify his wife. Before conjugal relations, one should pray to Hashem and ask for assistance in fulfilling this mitzvah in the proper manner. You hear? Hashem, please, I'm about to be with my wife and I hope she enjoys, I hope things go well. Like this. It says it's not just come in, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am type of thing. Yeah? Indeed, the more a husband nullifies his own lust, the more he can be patient and involved in fulfilling his wife's pleasure. Anna, straight. You see what it says? The more a husband nullifies his lust, what happens when a person lusts? He comes quickly. And therefore, he doesn't give her a chance to heat up and whatever. You hear? So he says, relax your lust. This way you can be more patient and involved in fulfilling your wife's pleasure. Our whole main duty in this world is to give. A man is a giver. We give to our children. We at work we're giving. But we're getting it. But at wife we have to be giving. He says, who made you a receiver? He says in the beginning of the book that many of us are receivers. Many of us are receivers. We cannot receive. He says we have to give. By the way, we're going to get what we were looking for. But he says first you have to give. In summary, one can only attain true holiness by fulfilling one's conjugal responsibilities properly. You hear? You cannot be holy if you do not have proper conjugal relations. That's why many of the outwardly things that we hear that they're abusing thousands and thousands of children, in these places. Why? Because they're not able to have relations. Where are you going to hide this? Where are you going to put this? You hear? It says, properly, and not to abstain. Abstain stage means don't abstain from it. A husband's job is to overcome bodily lust, a spiritual level that anyone could attain. Personal holiness, Shmirat HaBrit, is the foundation of all blessings and the gate to success in this world and the next. You hear? A lot of men think a man is supposed to be uncontrollable when it comes to these type of things. Hashem gave it to me. What am I supposed to do? Hashem gave me eyes. I gotta look. Yeah, who said? He gave you eyes to look where you're supposed to be looking. Yeah, not to look wherever you want to look. Okay, Baruch Hashem. That was that chapter. Chapter 7. He says the following story teaches us an important lesson in faith and peace at home. A certain young man returned to Emunah from listening to tapes of my lectures. Says a guy came back to it and soon began attending my lectures in person. He came to my talks for a long time, but didn't make much headway in terms of practical observance. There was just one thing that he connected to right away: personal prayer, what we call hitborodut, or talking to Hashem in your own language. So basically, a person was not on the derech. He came to the derech, but not all the way. His main thing was hitborodut. There's a lot of people who are not so religious, but when it comes to hitborodut, they can do 2-3 hours of hitborodut. And this was this guy. Though it wasn't apparent on the outside, he soon became a real master of prayer. He would engage in hitborodut at every opportunity and could do so for a few hours straight. Although he was talking to Hashem every day, his observance of mitzvot was still lacking. Meaning, he wasn't maybe putting on tefillin, right? Or maybe not. But his hitborodut with Hashem was very strong. One night he came to me and told me about a girl he had met. Although she didn't share his interest in Judaism, he nevertheless wanted to marry her. Yeah, she wasn't such a religious girl. He was a little bit more religious than her, but he wanted to marry her. I had known him for quite some time and knew that he was moving slowly in the right direction. He now had his own tefillin and was learning a bit of Torah. I felt that a girl who was on the same path would be better for him, so I advised him against marrying this particular girl. I said to him, why should you enter yourself into such a difficult test of lack of communication and tension? He wants to marry this non-religious girl. He slowly is going up in the religious path. And the rabbi is telling him, listen, it's better you get a girl who's also going to the path. Why this one who's not on the path at all? He says, I want to marry her. He replied that although he did want to get stronger and continue on the path that he had started, he couldn't see himself ever marrying an Orthodox girl. This girl seems really right for him, and he hoped that it would be okay. I didn't argue with him, and he married her. He ended up marrying her, this girl. Now what happens? Not many days transpired after the wedding before he came to me again, this time with a gloomy face, telling me all about the problems he was having with this new wife. They just weren't getting along. All she was interested in was mobile phones and having a good time, and these things didn't interest him as much. She was on Instagram, this, TikTok, MikTok. Him, he's becoming a little bit more religious.
No. How we can understand this? If she is a mirror of him.
Oh, one second. He had a different perspective on life, a perspective of emunah, of prayer, and it was difficult for him to find any common ground for communication with her. He saw her as being superficial and empty. He loved her less with each passing day. Now he comes and says, Rabbi, I made a mistake. This is not for me. I want to go up in religiosity, and she's mamash not religious. Listen to this. It seemed like you were right, Rabbi. He said sheepishly, what should I do? Should I divorce her? He says, I gave him a big smile and told him, no way, my friend. Before you married her, I advised you against it. But now that you're married, this is the one for you. He says, there is no way back. This must be your sole correction. You know how to do hitborodut. Get to work. Look what he says to him. He says, before marriage, yes, I agree with you. You should listen to me. I told you, religious girl. Now that you get married, this is your zivug. He says, you're a hitborodut guy. You're a prayer guy. Start working. I told him what to pray for and how to work on his character traits, yeah? Not to make even the slightest negative comments to his wife, to honor her, to give her whatever he can. I encouraged him and strengthened his resolve over and over that this is your wife. If heaven allowed you to marry her, then she is your intended wife, and this is your sole correction. It's up to you to use your power of prayer to solve any problems that arise. So imagine, he's first of all, he was not religious. So as you were saying, what? He mirror image? Yes, because he wasn't there. Now, where is he now though? Here? Where is he? Hashem wants him to be where? Up high. But now what does he do? He's giving him a challenge. Now he has to take this challenge and try to climb the high mountain. When we go mountain climbing, are we walking on a valley? No. Walking on a valley, you're not doing anything. You want a mountain climb, right? Why people pay so much money to climb mountains? And they risk their lives. Here, it's a challenge. That young man, who was in no way lazy when it came to personal prayer, went and started to work on himself in the most admirable manner. Every day he engaged in Hidbodudut for a few hours. He asked Hashem for help in refraining from comments and criticisms, in honoring his wife and making her happy, and in believing that this was all for the best. Now imagine, he's trying to be religious. He doesn't know what to do. So he's praying to Hashem, Hashem, please make it easy for me that this is my wife. Yeah? Don't let me comment on her. That's one of our biggest problems, yeah? Commenting on the woman, what she does, what she does. He says, his vigorous efforts resulted in peaceful relations with her. He says, a year and a half of peaceful married life passed. Then one night, he came up to me again, this time with a new problem. Dear Rabbi, thank God I have peace with my wife now. This is no longer a problem. I have no difficulty in coping with whatever she is doing to me. I only see Hashem. I never pay her back in kind. On the contrary, I'm only good to her. I lavish her with all kinds of things with no end. It's clear to me that all the suffering that I get from her is what is due to me. He's acknowledging that. He says, Rabbi, I agree. Everything she's giving to me, I deserve it. As much as she complains and is never happy, I accept it with love. As regards to peace in the home, everything is fine. However, the problem now is that I have such a strong desire to live a Torah life. Yeah? To live in a Torah community. And my wife has no connection to Judaism at all. He says, zilch, zero. I don't say a word to her about this. But I want to ask you, dear Rabbi, maybe we really aren't suited for each other? And the best thing is for divorce after all? You hear? So he made peace. He says, we're good. We're not arguing anymore. Everything is good. I give her everything. I don't say anything. But you really want me to live with this woman who's not religious at all?
He's almost there with this.
He's almost there, but she's not.
No, she's almost there.
I looked at this man with amazement. I had seen how far he had come since his marriage.
Yeah.
Now he wanted to live a Torah life. Something that before his marriage was far away from his aspirations. Yeah. Before he said, no, I want to be takoy, 50-50. I want to be like, there, but not there. He says, but now I want to be there. I want to be religious. So he says, he had achieved the high level of emunah to live with a wife who constantly complained and to accept it with love was no small accomplishment. His personal growth was clear. So he says, I see that he grew. His whole manner expressed humility. He was shining, a delight to look at. Our efforts are all for the best. This is the caption. He says, then I understood what a tremendous lesson Hashem was teaching me. I had always believed that whatever Hashem did was for the good. But here, it was so obvious, everything really is for the best. I thought that by marrying this girl, he had made a mistake for his life. Here, this is the rabbi saying, that when he married this girl, the rabbi thought that he was making a mistake. What are you doing? Wow. Yet, he accepted the situation with emunah, looked for the messages that Hashem was sending him, and then faithfully set out to improve. The truth became apparent in all its glory. Everything Hashem does is for the best. How? If not for the challenges of getting along with a difficult wife, he would never have prayed as he did, from the depths of his heart and at such length. Also, he wouldn't have worked on himself in the way that he did. The merit of those heartfelt prayers and his dedicated efforts to improve himself were what brought him in the end to long for a holier life, a true life of Torah. He's saying, if he would have married somebody very religious, he's going to mention right now, he wouldn't do all this. And he would be where? Right over here. But he married this girl, and now he's in pain. Exactly. He became a gibor. Why? He started praying for the bottom of Hashem, please, I want to be good in her eyes. I want her to be, yeah? So he says, had he married a God-fearing girl, as I had thought that he should, perhaps he would have done, he'd both do it for 1 hour a day. But in most likely, he probably, he'd been without much warmth or passion. His bodudut would be what? Takoi, what? He's got a religious girl, she keeps Shabbat, everything is fine, yeah? In terms of Judaism, he would have probably crawled along in a slow pace and he would, he wouldn't get anywhere at all. Who knows if he might have even taken the steps to become religious. Maybe he would have been stepped backwards, as I have seen many times when young couples enthusiastic for spirituality wane when they get married. You hear? He says if you married a religious girl, maybe he wouldn't even go forward. He might have even just relaxed.
Yeah.
The girl he married, being the way she was, now he's not condoning that you should marry a non-religious girl. Not at all, absolutely. He says if it happened already, there must be a reason why it happened. He said the girl he married, being the way she was, gave him a more boost for spirituality than the most zealous Orthodox girl could have done. In the area of Emunah, the most important part of Teshuvah, he reached levels that few could achieve. He totally corrected his character traits. He started off with a very angry disposition, and now he was most patient and pleasant person you could ever meet. In the beginning, he said he was an angry person. He accepted all of his wife's complaints with faith. He pampered her and honored her with no exception of receiving anything from her. Why? Because she was not religious at the end of the day. If not for the challenges of having such a wife, he would have never merited all of this, because he's seeing what's going on with him. So he says, from here we see the wonders of Hashem's providence. Common sense said that it was a big mistake for you, for the young man to marry that woman. But in reality, they faced many difficult challenges. Yet, when we look through the lenses of Emunah, we see that once they were married, very good, by coping with the difficulties, he ultimately became closer to Judaism. His tribulations helped him to achieve character traits and faith that few merit to achieve. Men say what? How much can I do? I don't understand. How much can I do? Why do I have such a difficult wife? I don't understand. I'm doing everything for her. Hashem says, no, you're not. Because you're not supposed to be doing anything for her. You're supposed to be doing it for you. You're supposed to be working on your character traits. You're supposed to be working on your patience. You're supposed to be working on your levels of emunah and understanding that, no, this wife is my wife 100%. Imagine if you were born with a crippled hand like that. What are you going to say? Hashem, what are you doing? Why have a crippled hand like this? No, you would work with it. You would take your left hand, you make it stronger. The left hand would help this crippled hand and will bring it up to heights of never before. You understand? And in a sense, I don't want to say the wife is crippled. Don't want to show. No, he's making the situation look like it's crippled in order for you to work on yourself. You understand? And through you working on yourself, you're going to get to levels that you never thought you could get to. You hear? So he says, this is a lesson for every situation in our lives. Although a person shouldn't seek difficult challenges or suffering, when he finds himself already in such a situation, he should know that this is definitely for the best. With such an incentive to pray and work on his character traits and his faith, the fruits of his labor will accompany him forever. He says, don't ever put yourself in a situation that's bad. Chas v'sholom. Don't marry a girl that you see she has a problem in whatever, whether it's sickness or this or whatever it is, religiosity or whatever. No, but once you're in it already,
That's it.
you cannot back out. He says that's exactly what Hashem wants from you. He says a good ending. Back to the story. When he asked me what to do, to divorce her or not, I told him there is no such thing. You've worked beautifully on yourself. Now you have a new project. You anyway do it for a few hours a day. Start to dedicate 1 hour to prayer that your wife should do teshuvah. She'll change. Don't think about anything else. He started praying for his wife for an hour a day, and soon enough, she started to change in the desired direction. An hour of prayer every day for somebody else will definitely have an effect. They then happily continued on the path of religiousness and observance together. So she ended up becoming religious. He's giving a story I mean, he's giving an actual story. So there are two essential lessons to take from this story. The first lesson is that there are no mistakes in divine providence. When newly married couples start to experience difficulties, as inevitably happens, their minds race with all sorts of disturbing thoughts. Here are a few familiar examples. Perhaps I made a mistake. Perhaps this marriage wasn't made in heaven. If only I had gotten married to somebody else. Why didn't I see that she had such a character and that she's not at all suited for me? It's the matchmaker's fault. It's all her fault. She pushed me into it, or he pushed me into it, yeah? Now I'm stuck. I felt sorry for her, and so I didn't want to say no, but now what can I do? He says all these things go into a person's mind. And that's why we have what? Married today, divorced in 6 months. Married today, divorced in a year. Married today, divorced in 2 weeks. Why? Because they're thinking, what? No. I made a mistake. He says, no, not at all. All such thoughts are both unproductive and untrue. Laying the blame for marriage on a human being, whether it is a person himself or his wife or his parents or a matchmaker or Rebbe, is blasphemous. He says it's kofrut. He says you don't believe in Hashem.
Okay.
Certainly, before a couple gets married, they must ask questions and check to the best of their ability that they seem compatible. Marriage is not a welfare bureau. He says, no, we don't do favors. Oh, I'm going to marry her because I feel sorry for her. Absolutely not. We don't get married because we feel sorry for someone else. No. Because it's not nice to refuse. No.
Hi, how are you?
At the outset, we must endeavor to set up a home that has every chance of success, where there will be peace and love, and where both sides want children and to be enhanced in the Torah. A person should not deliberately enter into a situation where he can see that he will have faced difficulty and conflict. Absolutely not. He says you have to make sure everything is good. Before.
How can you find like this? Ideal.
After the marriage, however, there is no more questions and no one to blame. There are no mistakes in providence. Hashem is one who pairs up couples. So if the wedding took place, it was from heaven. You got married, this must be your sole correction, your primary mission in life. Hashem would not have allowed this otherwise. You hear what he's saying? He goes like this. You go like this. I like that girl. Everything's good. She's the same religion as I am. She's religious level as I am. It looks pretty nice. This night, everything is fine. You want kids? Yes, I want kids. Everything is good.
Everything is fine. It cannot be.
I get
Always
married.
You find
No.
red flags.
Again. If you find red flags that you cannot deal with, you cannot get married. But let's say you saw everything is not such a red flag. It's some yellow flags. Yellow flags are okay. Some green flags. You get married. Once you get into the situation, guess what? You stick to the situation. You work with the situation as much as you can. You hear? On the contrary, when problems arise only after the wedding, they are a sign that the husband has something to rectify. Not that the marriage was the mistake. He needs to ask Hashem to show him what he needs to correct and when, and then to get work. If he doesn't understand what he needs to work on, he should seek the advice of a rabbi who will know how to advise him accordingly. When a person has problems, he shouldn't say, what? Yo, she's devone. I'm sorry. She must have cracked. He says, no. You must have cracked. Or you didn't, finish fixing yourself. Yeah? He says, when a problem arises after wedding, or when the couple suddenly feels that they are just not compatible, this is a further proof that their marriage is Hashem's will. You hear? Why are you laughing? Here's how. The wife didn't see that her fiance was just not her type. The husband did not see that he didn't have anything in common with his bride. Yeah? These being signs of Hashem. Hashem wanted them to get together. And He brought about the circumstances that got them together. You know what I used to say? I used to say, never marry Israeli. Chas v'shalom, Israeli woman, they're all nuts. Never marry Israeli. That's number one.
This is what Rabbi said.
Never marry more than knowing the girl at least 6 months to a year. Go out with her, this and that. Never do that. Whole list of things. Guess what? I married an Israeli in 2 weeks. Here? I married an Israeli girl in 2 weeks. I was like, what? Everything I said no to, guess what? Hashem said, okay, Bubalai, don't worry. Don't worry. Put me together. I didn't want a big girl. I want a petite girl. I got married a big woman. You know, meaning not a petite woman. Meaning everything that I thought I was gonna marry, he says to me, you don't understand. That moment, he changed my mind. It was already, so he knew, and I wasn't a religious guy. He knew that I needed to get married. He brought her from Israel, somebody's wedding. I looked at her and said, wow, 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 boom. And then the problem started. And then 26 years I was wandering in the forest.
That's why he today.
Until I found this thing. Exactly. And that's why I'm here today talking to
The
you.
book was written 25 years ago.
Yes, I should have, but I didn't know this thing. I didn't know. So he says, because of the fact you got married like that, only proves that it was Hashem. Maybe Hashem led the wife to agree in a hurry, or made the husband give in to pressure from a matchmaker. Whatever it was that took place, confusion, stress, mistakes that led up to the wedding, are simply Hashem's fingerprints indicating that this was all His making. The second lesson we learn from this, from our story, is that coping with adversity elevates a person. Without difficulties and challenges, it is very hard for a person to grow. Since by nature, we want everything to go smoothly in life
Easy.
and to take it easy. That's what we want. It says, we don't and should not seek out problems. But when a challenge presents itself, we must realize that we are being given an opportunity to elevate ourselves. If we want what's best for us, we should pray for help and step up to the challenge. Many of us, I don't want to be a man. I want to be and therefore divorce line. Throughout all generations, the greatest people have been the ones who stood up to it and conquered the adversity. Our duty is to strengthen our faith and know that whatever situation we find ourselves in, Hashem is the one who put us there. It is for our own good, because this is the pathway to the correction of our soul. Our personal mission and challenge. If we step up to the challenge, we will most definitely grow and reach the levels that we couldn't have otherwise achieved. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen. Amen.